Hi, I'm C.C. Péan, and this is Reclaiming Your Health. Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to Reclaiming Your Health. I'm so thankful to have you joining me again this evening on this. We're just about 9 days or 8 days away from Thanksgiving. So thank you for taking time to join me, and I'm excited that you have joined me because I have a couple of dishes that you can cook for Thanksgiving. Now, these are side dishes, but when you are in the plant-based world, oftentimes a side dish becomes a main dish. And these dishes are delicious enough to be main dishes. Last week, I shared with you all a corn pudding that was very simple to make. And you might think it's not possible to have an even simpler but tastier dish, but it is. So this evening, we're going to do two dishes. We are going to do a 5-spice haricot vert with shiitake mushrooms. Haricot vert is just a fancy way of saying green beans. So we're being fancy. The second dish we're going to make are honey mint carrots. So let me tell you a little bit about the way that I prep for these dishes. I think I may have shared with you all that I love the idea of blanching vegetables. And the reason I do that is twofold. It eliminates the amount of time you have to cook it, therefore holding more nutrients in your vegetables when you actually do eat them. And it also helps them to maintain a really bright, fresh color. I don't know how many of you have had string beans in the past and they're dull, they're like this horrible green color. We avoid that by blanching. So let me give you some basics of blanching. What you do is you get some water, pile on, you get some water going, you get that water to a rapid boil. You put your veggies in there, whatever they are, for about a minute to a minute and a half, completely submerged. Take it out, put it in an ice bath. So you need like a big dish with a whole bunch of ice and water. So it's really cold. And you're gonna throw those vegetables that have just come out of that boiling water into that ice bath. What that does is it stops the cooking process. Okay, so I did that this evening to these green beans or haricot vert, and also to these gorgeous. Look how bright and brilliant and beautiful these carrots are. I did them to these as well. Now, I like to use these carrots when I make this dish because, again, we're being a little fancy. But there's no reason you cannot use your everyday carrots. Peel them, cut them on the diagonal in nice thick slices, throw them in that water, blanch them, take them out. Okay? So that is one thing I do need to be clear with you all. When you're doing carrots, you don't throw the whole carrot in there. You prep it as you would if you were going to cook it regularly. You throw that in the boiling water, a minute and a half, take it out, put it in the ice bath. And you're gonna just move that around in there until you can feel that the heat has come off of it. And they're cold, they're no longer hot. Then you dump that ice water and you put it in a dish. Okay, so even after I did that, I did have to drain off a little bit of water. But again, what that does is it lessens the amount of time that you have to actually cook it when you're fixing it with as we are this evening, our onions, our garlic, and our shiitake mushrooms, etc. You are literally at that point just going to bring your vegetables up to temperature, but you're not cooking them a long time. One of the things we want to be sure to do is to maintain all the nutrition that we possibly can. And this is one way that I do it. So this evening, our 5-spice haricot vert, we're going to use a little bit of sesame oil in that. I've got some garlic and onion here. I've got this delicious five spice. This is literally one of my favorite flavors. And people often ask me, why do I use five spice if I'm somebody who celebrates the African diaspora? And that is because there are quite a few Chinese in the African diaspora. My mother's home country of Guyana has a lot of Chinese. I actually have an uncle, Harold Chung, who is Chinese. Jamaica is known for their Chinese population. So these immigrant populations that came to these countries brought things like their seasonings, and one of them is five spice. And I love five spice. I use it in sweet and savory applications. And tonight we're going to use it savory. And then we're doing our shiitake mushrooms. This is a nice hearty mushroom. It does have a distinct flavor that I like, but I would encourage you to ease into it. Don't use a lot of it because if the flavor catches you off guard, you're not going to want a lot of it, but I love it. So I'm going to use about a cup in my recipe. So that's the first dish, and then the second dish, we've got these beautiful carrots again that have been blanched. We've got some fresh mint that I have julienned. We've got some plant butter. I'm using Miyoko's plant butter tonight. It's really, really nice. I've got some fresh parsley that's going to also go on that. And I am using a little bit of honey. Now, I know some people that are vegan do not do the honey thing. That's fine. You can use agave. You can use maple. You don't have to use honey. But honey and mint do go together beautifully. And I don't have any issues with honey. So that's why I'm using it guys this evening. So let's get started. I'm going to turn this on. And the first dish we're going to do, let's do our Haricot Vert with shiitake first. So let me show you, I've cut up most of my mushrooms, but I just want to let you see. You've got to cut off the stem of your shiitake mushroom. If you buy them pre-sliced, obviously you don't have to worry about that, but I bought these like this on purpose so I could talk to you about it. You want to take these off because they're really tough. They're not something that you want to cook. So I'm going to cut those off. And then I'm going to go with my knife and I'm going to thinly slice these. I have actually used these shiitake mushrooms to make a shiitake bacon. On that same corn pudding I made last week, I do a delicious, crispy shiitake bacon on top. Very simple. You just toss them in a little bit of oil, salt, and you put them in the oven. You've got to watch them like about 375. And once they're crispy, you just sprinkle some lemon juice on them, and they are delicious. So I'm going to cut this one up. And then where my pan, I get to hear that it's already hot. And this is an easy dish to prepare. So I said 1 to 2 tablespoons of sesame oil is going in the pan. Now I'm using about 1.5 pounds of our shiitake, our haricot vert or green beans. That's just a way of like the French trimmed green beans. That oil is already hot. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to dump in my onion. I have 1 whole onion and 4 cloves of garlic that are going to go into that sesame oil. And we're just going to saute that. It immediately smells good. We're just going to really just kind of warm this through. You know, you all have heard me. I do not like overcooked vegetables. I do not like overcooked food. I like food with texture. So we've got this going. We're going to let this stir fry for about a minute or so. To this, I'm adding my cup of shiitake mushrooms. Now, mushrooms are one of those things that really suck up oil. So I'm going to keep this moving in the pan. I may have to add a little bit more, but I'm going to try not to. Now, of course, if you are using a nonstick pan with either a hard rubber or a wood utensil, remember, we're never using metal spoons on Teflon or anything like that. We're going to move this around quickly, but if you were using like a nonstick pan, it would go a little farther without the amount of oil. But because I'm using a stainless pan, it does suck up some of the oil and drop the temperature down a little bit. Smelling lovely. Something you can also do is just use oil spray. Another thing you can do is you can use some vegetable broth, just a little bit of vegetable broth to help move this along. It has a slightly different effect, slightly different result in the end, but delicious nonetheless. So if you're somebody who's very sensitive to oil, or you're trying to stay away from too much oil, that is an option for you. Okay, so this is what we're looking like so far. What our pan is looking like. And now we are going to add our blanched French trim green beans. Now, when you do your blanching water, you can always add a little salt to it if you'd like. I did not do that because I like to, be careful with the amount of salt that I use. This is already looking lovely. And we've got a lot of flavor in here because we've got our onions, we've got our garlic, we've got sesame oil, we've got these mushrooms that I've told you have a very unique flavor to them. And then we've got these bright, fresh green beans. So now here comes my favorite stuff. Now, depending on your threshold, you might use more, you might use less. Let me tell you what's in here. There's cinnamon, fennel, cloves, star anise, and white pepper. So it's got this really beautiful, sweet, spicy quality to it. So I'm just going to sprinkle some on here. All in all, I'm probably going to use about 2 teaspoons. But I would suggest that you start out with maybe a teaspoon of this. And this is continuing to cook. Now remember, we blanched these green beans, so it's not going to take a long time for this dish to be ready. Okay? This looks lovely and it smells great. I'm going to use a pinch of salt. All right, we are done with dish number 1. Let me let you all see what it looks like. These are our French trimmed green beans with shiitake mushrooms, onions, garlic with 5 spice. And when I plate it, we're going to drop some sesame seeds on there as well. That is dish 1. Let's go on to dish number 2. So dish number 2 are our carrots. I'm going to drop my plant butter in the dish. The plant butter is going to give this dish the creaminess and creamy base that I want. And now when you make this dish, you can also use onions and garlic if you want to. You can use fresh ginger if you want to. I'm keeping it kind of simple because we've got so much going on with the other dish that we prepared. So look at how quickly this one is going to come together. So I'm melting my butter, 2 tablespoons of plant butter. And to that, I'm just going to take these beautiful carrots and just lay them in the pan. That's so, so pretty. I mean, Thanksgiving is a beautiful, bountiful table, and these colors are just going to, it's eating the rainbow. The thing that we always talk about in the plant-based world is eating the rainbow, and that's what you're seeing here. Look at that. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous carrots. So what I would suggest is if you can, try to find those multicolored carrots because it's going to take your presentation, your experience to another level. Now, the package that I thought did have those purple ones in there, I took them out because they bleed and they just destroy the color, the final presentation. But you know, if you don't mind that, you don't mind that. But I wanted this to look as beautiful as possible for you all. Okay, so I'm starting to hear that. Cook through. We want to kind of get this plant butter all over these blanched carrots. There's a little bit of saltiness to that plant butter, you know. And one of the things that I talk about when I teach cooking classes is that one of the issues with the American diet in particular is we have gotten used to foods that are overly salted and overly sweetened. And one of the things that I encourage people to do is to get back to enjoying foods the way nature intended, and that is as close to its natural state as possible. So this is one of these dishes that we keep very, very simple, and the components that we add to it are what take it to the next level. So we've got our carrots with some plant butter. I'm going to take this mint, and if you're somebody who likes mint, go for it. If you're not, you can use parsley instead. A lot of things you can do, but I like mint. So we're just going to throw that julienne mint in there. Continue to cook. It's smelling lovely. If you all don't like really, I can't call this, I wouldn't say these carrots are going to be crunchy, but if you like your carrots just a little softer, just blanch them a little longer. That's all. That's all you have to do. I don't have much mint left, so I'm just going to throw it all in there. Okay, here comes our honey. So I used about a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half of honey, and I'm just going to squeeze it. I'm just going to squeeze it on there. And what happens with the heat, it makes it runny. You're going to have this beautiful, salty, sweet, simple, delicious flavor that's going to come through. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful side dishes. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my salt, a pinch of salt. You know what I always say? If your guests need more salt, allow them to add it themselves. We're using just enough salt to bring those flavors to life, but we don't want to mess up anybody's blood pressure. All right. So this looks done as well. So we have got our 5-spice, Haricot Vert with shiitake mushrooms, and we've got our honey mint carrots. Right, I'm just gonna let this cook a little longer. Let me put some heat up under this one to warm it up. What's going on over here? Oh, there we go. Excellent. So you all, we have now combined with last week's class, we've got 3 simple, heart-healthy, eat the rainbow plant-based dishes that you can make. And you know, so I've heard people say, "Oh, you're a chef, you're a cook. That's why you make these things happen so quickly." I literally have chosen and created recipes that are that simple. They truly are that simple so that anybody can do them. And the great thing about, for example, these blanched veggies, you don't have to tend to them really long. I mean, they're ready to go. You just have a few simple things to do, and you can have some nice fresh vegetables on the table in no time. So it's not complicated. Let me just see if we've got, that's really nice. That's really, really nice. That tastes great. I know some people are on, but nobody's asking questions. I'm just gonna mince up a little bit of parsley. I shouldn't say mince. Coarsely chop some parsley to go on top of our carrots. It's gonna add another flavor profile, a nice earthy green flavor, freshness to it. I don't know what you all are doing, if you're doing tofurkey for Thanksgiving. I've actually never had tofurkey. I never was a turkey person when I ate turkey, when I ate meat, so never gotten into it. So now we're gonna plate these beautiful dishes. Just wanted to put some heat under this. These look lovely. They smell great. I'm sure my husband is going to enjoy these leftovers tomorrow. So the first one I'm going to do, green beans, 5 slices of there. Beautiful, beautiful. And you can put them just like this when you serve them, folks. Just this simple, incredibly delicious. Mushrooms are kind of meaty. This definitely is like your Asian inspired addition to the table. Okay. And to this, I'm going to put some sesame seeds, which I tell people sesame seeds are part of the African diaspora story as well. They're called Beni seeds. They have a big, big history in South Carolina in particular. But yes, sesame and sesame seeds are part of the African diaspora. So here are beautiful. Who needs a green bean casserole? Do something different this year. Try this. Don't use that mushroom soup. Don't use those, canned fried onions. Let's go fresh. Let's go fresh this year. We use this again to now do our carrots. We've got these beautiful carrots that have this nice honey mint glaze on them. You can just put these on a platter. The colors are so vibrant and beautiful. We've got yellow, we've got orange, we've got kind of a creamish colored carrot on the plate. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Something else I was talking with my cousin who's visiting us is that a lot of people, when they go into the plant-based lifestyle or the vegetarian lifestyle, all of a sudden everything is covered in cheese. You figure, oh, I'm not eating meat, so I'm going to eat cheese. Nope. We are not disturbing any of this beautiful plant-based loveliness with any cheese tonight. We are just going to keep it nice and green and fresh and beautiful. Now tell me, folks, if this was not on a table in front of you, if you would not partake. How lovely are these two dishes? Here's number one, and here's number two. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let's go straight on. Can you see straight on? Beautiful dishes, plant-based, eat the rainbow, heart healthy, inexpensive, good for you. These are dishes that you want to have on your Thanksgiving table or your table any day. They're that simple. You can make these tomorrow night. If you're on California time, PST, you can run out to the market and you can have this on your table in no time. Thank you, folks, for joining me on Reclaiming Your Health. I will not be here next week. I'm going to be doing some traveling, but thank you for joining me. Thank you for being such consistent, supportive people. For the last almost year and a half, we've been doing this, and you all tune in every single week. I so appreciate you. You inspire me. You encourage me to keep pushing and keep coming up with different ideas to share with you all. Have a wonderful evening and happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.